Hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss about biodiversity and binomial nomenclature. So, when I talk about this term biodiversity, it basically refers to the diverse or the varied form of different organisms that are present around us. Now we can see in the diagram it tells us about the various different forms of organisms that are surviving around us. We can see that there are differences in their external appearance. बाहर से different दिखते हैं, their sizes are different, their colors are different, their patterns on the body are different. Then they have different behaviors as well. They feed on different objects. Some of them are herbivores, some are carnivores, some are omnivores. Now their habitats are also different. They may be terrestrial, they may be aquatic, or they may be living in the xeric conditions also. So such differences between various forms of living beings are so much different from each other. We have around 1.7 to 1.8 million of living organisms which are known till now, and many of the organisms are continuously being discovered. So biodiversity is basically referring to all these diverse or varied forms of living organisms that we have around us. I hope this term is clear to everybody. So now let us discuss about what are the various characteristic features on which these diversifications can be based on. So various characteristic features on which these diversifications are based on. The first and foremost is the nature of the cells. Now these living organisms can be either prokaryotic or they can be eukaryotic. Now, when I talk about prokaryotic organisms, you know what prokaryotic organisms are. They are the primitive, they are the organisms which have just a primitive nucleus. Fine. So, they do not, the nucleus is not bound by a well-defined nuclear membrane, and even the cell organelles are not having a well-defined membrane. But if I talk about the eukaryotic organisms, they are much more. They're having the nuclear content in the well-defined nucleus. Similarly, the second point of diversification could be the cellularity. They can be either unicellular, which is single-celled, yes, or they can be the multicellular organisms, which are generally having various cells in their body. All right, so this can be the second point of difference between the organisms. The third can be the level of organization. Now, these organisms, can be as simple as the single-celled organisms, which are just having one cell in their body, or they can have tissue organization. When we move further, they can even have, some of them can have organ organization and then the organ system. Fine, like we have the organ system of organization in the human beings as well. Okay. So, therefore, they differ on the basis of the complexity that they have. Alright, so this also can be one characteristic feature which can make these organisms diversified or different from each other. Now, the next is the mode of nutrition. Some of the organisms can be like autotrophic, they are the producers, they can either use they can be either photoautotrophic or chemoautotrophic. Fine, so either they're using the sunlight or they can either use the chemical energy to obtain the ATPs or the energies, or otherwise they can be even heterotrophic. So heterotrophic mode of nutrition, as we all know, is the one which are deriving energy from the other organisms which cannot manufacture their own food. So these are the various points which are basically the characteristic features and which are making each individual different or each organism different from the another organism. All right. The naming of living organisms. Standardized naming of living organisms मतलब हर जगह हम सेम नाम बोलेंगे तो वो जो नेमिंग है वो स्टैंडर्डाइज हो जाएगी. So this is something. So this is something wherein the organisms would have a standard name. Okay. Now also such that a particular organism is known with the same name all over the world. Now, for these are going to be the standard names which are going to be followed all over the world. For plants, like for example, if you have to decide on the names for the plants, it would be done by this International Court of Botanical Nomenclature. So, botanical, of course, botany is a branch of science which deals with the study of plants. Fine. So, therefore, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature is basically deciding on the scientific names of the plants. Similarly, animals, if we are talking about, if we have to name an animal organism, then we would be following the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Animal names are International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, also called as ICZN. Then, the scientific name ensures that each organism has only one name and the same name is being, taken across the globe so that there is no confusion and we have a standard system which everybody can rely and everybody can follow throughout the world. So let us see now what are the advantages of giving such scientific names. Now, when we talk about scientific names, the advantage, the first and foremost, I hope we have understood for ourselves now, they are unique. Okay, so they are unique and they just belong to that particular organism. And it is not a common name that could be designated to all the organisms of that particular species. No. So this is going to be a unique name. They are understood and followed all over the world. So they are not regional. Wherever you go in the entire world, they would be calling that particular organism with the same name. So understood and followed all over the world. They cannot be changed easily. So once you have designated a name, unless and until you have a foolproof scientific basis behind that, it cannot be changed easily. And also scientific names are often descriptive and they also indicate the important characteristics which that particular organism is having. Fine. So once, as in the next slide, we're going to learn about how to name an organism in the scientific way. So we would understand the name itself would be telling us the various important characteristics of that particular organism. Now let us study about the discovery of binomial nomenclature, how that was done, by whom that was done. So when I talk about the development of binomial nomenclature, it was first developed and used by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so he was the scientist who has done this for the first time. And where did he publish it? He entitled this in his book named as Species Plantarum. Okay, so he had this book named as Species Plantarum, where he has first mentioned the binomial nomenclature. And also, what you have to remember is he is called as the father of taxonomy, and he also developed the binomial nomenclature along with he made a foolproof system of classification also. Fine. So these are the 2 points which we need to discuss and to remember about Carolus Linnaeus for sure. Now, how to write the binomial nomenclature? There are some rules which we need to follow while we are writing the biological binomial nomenclature. Now, let us talk about each one of them. Generally, the names are written in the Latin language and they are written in italics. Okay, so when we are writing the names, when we are printing them, like in prints, if it has to be written in italics. The name of the genus begins with the capital letter. So the first name over here, it has two names, first and second. The first one specifies the genus of the species, genus of that particular organism. The second name specifies the species of that particular organism. So as it mentions, the name of the genus begins with a capital letter. So this you can see, for example, if I just show you over here, this is written in capital H. Okay, so the first letter of the genus begins with the capital letter. Whereas if it is for the second word which represents the species of that particular organism, the first letter begins only with the small letter. We will not capitalize the first letter of species. So this you will have to remember. Say for example, it is written over here. You can see this example. Human beings have this scientific binomial nomenclature as Homo sapiens. Homo is representing the genus of human beings. HOMO. So H is capital over here. This is the first letter of genus. Sapiens represents the species of human beings. And S here represents, you can see this species, and also the first letter of sapiens. This is small s only. We haven't capitalized this. Okay, so when it is written, you have to remember that this is the way it will be written always. The scientific name should be written in italics when printed, and it should be underlined separately when handwritten. When you're writing the scientific name in your notebooks or in your examination, you will be, because it is handwritten, you would be underlining it. Okay. So when it is in print, in books and all, you would find the scientific names are written in italics. But when you would be writing the names in your notebooks handwritten, so that time it would be underlined. Okay. One more example we can see over here for Panthera leo. This is the biological or binomial nomenclature for lion. You can see here the rules are being followed. Panthera Panthera represents the genus. P is written in capitals. Leo represents the species, and L is written in small l, small letters, plus it is written in italics. Okay. So these are some of the rules which has to be taken in consideration whenever you're writing any organism by its binomial nomenclature. Okay. One more time. Let us understand this. So Homo sapiens is the scientific binomial nomenclature for the human beings, wherein the Homo words represents the genus of human beings. Genus ka pehla letter, the first letter is always in capital. So capital H is written. Okay. Sapiens here represents the species. Species ka pehla letter S is always in small only. So small s. Okay. So this represents the species of human beings. Names are written in italics when it is in print. Okay. So and when it is handwritten, it should be underlined. So these are important rules which you need to always remember when you are writing binomial nomenclature of any organism. All right. Hope this is clear to you. Now, there are some examples which I have taken for some common organisms. Common names are written and their genus and species binomial nomenclature is written. For example, we can see the first one for lion. Common name is lion. But when you go and talk about the binomial nomenclature, this is Panthera leo. So Panthera here represents the genus and Leo represents the species of lion. Similarly, we have the same organism which is belonging to the same genus, jaguar, which is again belonging to the same genus which is Panthera, but the species here are different. This is Onca. Okay. If we talk about leopard, which is the third one, here again the genus remains Panthera, but then the species again has changed to Pardus. Okay. So this represents the species. And if I talk about tiger, genus again is Panthera, but the species is Tigris. Okay, so this is how, I hope this is clear, how you write binomial nomenclature. Alright, so you also can try for various common organisms which you find around yourself and try whether you are able to find out their correct names or not. Okay. I hope this is clear to you and this is an important topic. Please understand it carefully. If you have liked my video, please like, subscribe and share this. Thank you.